So Killing Floor 2's Spring Update 2020 called Neon Nightmare is going on right now, and I have a quick PSA for you that the double XP, quad drop rates, and the sale on Steam for, the DLC weapons, cosmetics, etc. has been extended until Tuesday, April 7th. So if you're grinding XP, you want to level up your perks, now's the time. Beyond that, for the rest of 2020, they have announced that there's 3 more updates coming, and to improve those updates, they've actually released a new survey, a weapon survey, to get our feedback on some of these weapons to, I'm hoping, improve some of them. Hey guys, this is Chris of B&B Gaming. Welcome back, and I hope you're doing amazing today. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video, and thank you for your likes, your shares, your comments. I definitely appreciate it. Now to start with, guys, I thought it'd be kind of interesting just to take the survey together here, and I'll just give you my feedback as we're going through here, and be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below, because I know I asked on my community tab here about the compound bow, and honestly I thought it was a really good weapon, but some of you think it stinks. So I'm curious what you guys think about these different weapons. Now the first weapon they ask about is the HRG Health Thrower. First of all, they ask, does the weapon feel satisfying to use? And my answer here would be no. To me, it feels like you're not shooting anything, and there's no real feedback to using this weapon. Next, they give us the options for Field Medic and Survivalist. Whether do we feel it's too weak, slightly weak, just right, slightly too powerful, or I don't know. And I don't think any weapon is too powerful. So for Field Medic, I'm going to say it's slightly weak. For Survivalist, I'm also going to say it's slightly weak. With Field Medic, I think the weapon, my main issue with it is it just doesn't feel like it's shooting anything. It feels like I call it the fart gun, because that's what it is. It just nothing happens with it. One issue I do have with it is maybe I'm using it wrong, but to me it feels like you should be able to shoot it in front of yourself as you're running away from like the train of flesh pounds chasing you, and be able to heal yourself up with it, and also get the buffs from the healing gas if you have it on your tree. Now with Survivalist, I think this is where I'm really disappointed with this weapon, because Survivalist has the medic training, and my thought was this is going to make the HRG Health Thrower amazing, and it doesn't do anything. So I would like them to improve this weapon quite a bit. Now all that said, I still think the Health Thrower actually does have some really good applications, especially now during double XP. The Health Thrower itself, if you're doing stand your ground or objective mode, is incredibly powerful for getting assists and heals, just racking up the dosh, etc. Because you're healing teammates, you're getting assists because you're poisoning Zeds. It's actually really good for leveling up fast. Now the next weapon they ask us about is the Seeker 6. And the first question is, does this weapon feel satisfying to use? And since this is one of my favorite weapons, I'm going to honestly say, yeah, I love this weapon. Now next they ask about demo. Is it too weak, slightly weak, just right, slightly too powerful, or too powerful? And I'm going to say slightly weak, and honestly that's not really true. I think it's just right, but if we can get a little bit of a buff, I mean, hey, I'm all for that. Now for Survivalist, the Seeker 6 is one of my favorite weapons. The Seeker 6 just tears it up. I get so many kills, so many assists with this thing, that it's amazing. Now the first tip for the Seeker 6 is you want to make sure you have the lock-on selected, because I think by default it's not on, and I'm not really sure what that alt fire is supposed to do, because it shoots a little faster, but to me it should be maybe you shoot all 5 of them at one time instead of just shooting them faster. To me that would make a lot more sense and be a lot more interesting. Now for Demolitionist, I like to run Shock Trooper, high impact rounds, fragmentation rounds, and also armor piercing rounds. Now the real key here is the fragmentation rounds, because a couple updates ago they increased the radius of all explosive weapons for this skill, so you're just racking up assists with this thing. Now for Survivalist, Obviously you want to run heavy weapon training so you get the faster reload, but the real key here is make things go boom. Again, they increased the power of this a couple updates ago, and finally if you have it unlocked, Madman is also really good. But what makes this weapon so powerful on Survivalist is the increased reload speed during Z time. So a lot of times you can unload it, reload it, and shoot it, and you're just going to get a steady stream of kills and assists with this weapon. The next weapon they ask us about is the HRG Winterbites. Here they ask, do they feel satisfying to use? And I'd have to say yes, they do. This is one of my favorite gunslinger weapons now. Next, they ask about the gunslinger. Does it feel too weak, slightly weak, just right, slightly too powerful, too powerful? I don't know. With gunslinger, I think they feel just right, but I answer slightly weak because we could always use a little buff. With Survivalist, I have to be honest and say I've never really used them on Survivalist, so I'm going to say slightly weak. Now for the Winterbites on the gunslinger, I like to run quick draw, bone breaker, line them up, and you guys are going to have to let me know about this because I'm not really sure whether line them up affects these or not. I was kind of tracking my assists and kills when I was using line them up, but it's, you know, it's kind of hard to really tell. And finally, I like to also run knock them down if I haven't unlocked. The next Killing Floor 2 weapon they ask us about is the Mac10. Here they ask, does the Mac10 feel satisfying to use? And to me it kind of depends, so I said no. Next they ask about the Firebug. Is it too weak, slightly weak, just right, slightly too powerful, or too powerful? For Firebug I answered it feels just right. I think it's a good weapon. For Survivalist, honestly I don't really use it much on him, so I don't know. For SWAT, this weapon feels just underwhelming because you have a smaller magazine but not a lot of damage. So compared with the Chris, you have a smaller magazine but you also have a lot of damage. Here you have a smaller magazine but not a lot of damage. I think this weapon could definitely use some work for the SWAT. Now the last Killing Floor 2 weapon they ask us about are the Rhinos. The first question they ask is, do the Rhinos feel satisfying to use? And I would have to say yes. Now next they ask about the Gunslinger. Too weak, slightly weak, just right. For Gunslinger, honestly I'd say they're just right, but I'm going to put slightly weak because, again, we could always use a buff. Now for Survivalist, I have used them and I would honestly say they feel too weak because, I don't know, they just don't do anything. Now my biggest issue with the Rhinos is the reload time. They just feel way too slow for what the weapon itself will do. Now it makes sense to me with the Magnum to have a really slow reload because they just put out a ton of damage, especially if you're running rack 'em up. Now with the Rhinos, they're essentially designed for trash, so it doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense having that abysmal reload speed on them. You could tell it really annoys me. Now the Rhinos, like I said, with line 'em up now are actually pretty good, and I'd like to run them more, but compared to other pistols, it just doesn't make a lot of sense on the Gunslinger. So these are my opinions, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to take the survey for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the pinned comment below.